the cost of tickets is rapidly declining. Caitlin Clark did not attend this weekend's All-Star game. The cost of tickets dropped by half. There was a 50% decrease in the number of tickets sold for this All-Star game. This boycott is beginning to affect the WNBA. The WNBA All-Star Weekend has begun. The fact that ticket prices plummeted as soon as Caitlin Clark was disqualified says it all. Many people have taken notice of the All-Star ticket rates. Tickets went from $121 to $64 each. Fans made it plain when it was announced that Caitlin Clark would not be playing from $121 to just $60. No interest, Caitlin. This league wouldn't function without Caitlin Clark, so please leave a comment below if you're all in for her. When Caitlin Clark was disqualified from the WNBA, the effect was harsh and instantaneous during the All-Star game. Ticket prices plummeted as soon as it was revealed that the only celebrity would be missing the All-Star game and that Caitlin Clark will not be joining in the celebrations. Not only did ticket prices drop, they plummeted. With admission costs as low as $121, the once popular event swiftly turned into a clearance sale. When it was announced that Caitlin Clark would not be attending this weekend's All-Star game, ticket prices dropped by half. You can see unknown guys trying to make layups for less than $70 as of this morning. There was a sharp decline in demand. Prices on popular resale websites like SeatGeek, Vivid Seats, and Ticketmaster fell to only $64 in a matter of hours. This was communicated in an NBA Central article on July 8th, stating quote, "After it was announced that Caitlin Clark would not be playing, the ticket price for the WNBA All-Star Game in Indianapolis dropped 48% from $121 to $64 and in some cases as low as $55 with fees included. That's a nearly 50% drop. This is a collapse that is rarely seen in any professional sports league, let alone for an event built as the centerpiece of the season. I wouldn't pay $140, and it wasn't just a price drop." As fans who had purchased tickets in advance started swarming online resale platforms. Desperate to unload their seats, some couldn't even get rid of them at steep discounts to watch the NBA All-Star Game. Hell, I wouldn't pay 140 pesos to watch the NBA's annual embarrassment. He sent me some footage from the arena and informed me that there were empty seats. People are selling their tickets so much that they just want to get rid of them. 121. All right, so you want it for 100? Oh no, I anticipate that we will see the same outcome tonight for the All-Star Game itself. Whole rows remained unsold. Resellers cut their listings every few hours just to keep up. The WNBA is keeping an eye on these trends from $100 to $80 to $70 and still no takers. So I suppose I'll have to lower it to $80. Oh, you don't want to buy it for $80? Well, I suppose I'll lower it to $70. You don't want to buy it to $70? I suppose I'll lower it to $64. WNBA All-Star Weekend is meant to be the star of all stars, but Caitlin Clark wasn't participating, so it was clear why. A'ja Wilson, Sabrina Ionesco, Breanna Stewart, and, well, everyone else were all out. You had the rookie, you had Angel Reese, Miss Me, too. Consider this. This was the All-Star Game, the alleged celebration of the league's top players, and AA. Wilson, Angel Reese, Sabrina Ionesco, and Breanna Stewart were all present. The WNBA is keeping an eye on these trends and seeing firsthand what the biggest names the WNBA has to offer, especially for the All-Star Game. Are worth Caitlin Clark's worth to this league? But obviously that wasn't enough, because the moment that one name that really draws attention was taken off the lineup, the whole event's value vanished. I saw online that the tickets for the section started at about $500 and then gradually increased as you went down. And the floor seats were about $4,000. Prior to Caitlin's absence, fans were willing to spend hundreds or even thousands of dollars on premium seats. with courtside seats costing upwards of $1,000 to $4,000 and mid-level bowl seats costing $300 to $500. However, there was a sharp decline in prices, with the same sections starting to appear for a fraction of the price. Were now available to almost anybody. These are those declaring, "I'm done. Rather not watch." Caitlin Clark isn't. The only reason I purchased tickets was to see Caitlin Clark play in the All-Star Game. I traveled to Indiana only to see Caitlin Clark play in the All-Star Game. She's hurt. That is no longer of interest to me. Those who had made early investments felt defrauded. Refunds were being requested by those who had made whole travel arrangements to visit Caitlin, as well as those who continued to hold on to their tickets. Many of them had lost interest in attending. Most people are watching in order to see Caitlin Clark. They're not watching if she's not playing. This was not a little variation. Due to the absence of one athlete, one rookie, and one player, Caitlin Clark, the market saw a complete reversal. And you believe that they were unaware of this knowledge when you guys went into the CBA negotiations? Oh no, they were aware of this fact. They were aware of this fact. You guys will have a difficult time negotiating. Nevertheless, league executives continue to act as if this is unimportant and that the WNBA is more than just one player. However, the supporters have made their choice quite apparent. Interest plummets, revenues plummet, and enthusiasm vanishes when Caitlin is absent. Most folks actually have no incentive to attend because Caitlin Clark isn't performing. The media wants us to think that the attraction is the WNBA itself. The media wants us to think Caitlin Clark is less important than fake basketball. However, it just isn't true. The number of additional stars named on the program is irrelevant. In the absence of Caitlin Clark, supporters are warning the league this isn't worth the price of admission. In other words, although the All-Star Game did take place, it was surrounded by empty seats. Fans and resellers who arrived anticipating excitement but saw mediocrity are furious. The WNBA wasn't the only thing that Caitlin Clark changed. She turned to become the WNBA's asset. And the stats show that when she's not on the floor, this league finds it difficult to market themselves. However, with regards to the suppliers and stores inside the arena, they will not have the same number of customers as they would if Caitlin Clark were present. Nearby eateries, nearby locations, and nearby points of interest. The amount of customers that would visit their establishment if Caitlin Clark were in good health would be reduced. The arena's vacant seats were only the first step. The actual repercussions of Caitlin Clark's departure reacted everyone who had been relying on her. Celebrity influence, and it extended far beyond the court. After stocking up and getting ready for a huge all-star weekend, local pubs, restaurants, hotels, and merchants saw a sharp decline in foot traffic, fewer revenues, and irate employees who had to sit at empty tables. This weekend was going to be a big payday for a lot of them. I received some video from the arena from him and informed me that the building was filled with vacant seats. I anticipate that tonight's All-Star Game will have the same outcome. However, the masses did not appear when Caitlin did not wear a suit. It's easy to underestimate the impact a single player can have on the economy of a whole city, but the statistics speak for themselves. Clark has developed into a major economic force. People travel whenever she performs. Hotel rooms are reserved by fans. They reserve seats at restaurants. They purchase goods. Arenas are crowded with them. That engine stalls when she's not there. However, I warned you WNBA players that they would complain if they didn't get their way. Just as I said on the channel, businesses in the Indianapolis area around the All-Star venue experienced that directly. As soon as her injuries was revealed, there was a discernible decrease in her energy and expenditure, and the disappointment wasn't limited to casual fans. A few enthusiasts had purchased airline tickets. Others scheduled weekend vacations or took time off work around the All-Star tournament only because they thought they'd receive watch Caitlin Clark participate in the three-point shootout in the skills challenge. most folks actually have no incentive to attend because Caitlin Clark isn't performing. The media wants us to think that the attraction is the WNBA itself. The media wants us to think Caitlin Clark is less important than fake basketball. However, it just isn't true. Most people are watching in order to see Caitlin Clark. They're not watching if she's not playing. She wouldn't be taking part when the news came out. For the whole weekend, many of those admirers gave up. They canceled arrangements throughout. Their tickets, or just didn't bother to show up, lost momentum. Within the arena, sellers witnessed a decline in sales of t-shirts, jerseys, foam fingers, and other items that were anticipated to have significant volume sales. When two well-known athletes compete against one another on the AAU circuit, the result is $70. Yes, it may cost you $70. These costs are pitifully cheap. Why? Because the other players didn't evoke strong feelings in. The audience thought there just wasn't any enthusiasm. The tickets had already been sold out. Regarding the venue, all 17,000 tickets, or whatever many they had, have already been sold. The resale activity demonstrated how much the public lost interest when Caitlin's name was removed from the roster, despite the fact that the venue may have officially been sold out. Consequently, fewer individuals actually went for walks through the gates and less time spent within. Are you beginning to see why players cannot get half of their earnings from the league? However, there is a compromise. WNBA players would never consent to receiving half of the revenues, as they would be paying to play simulated basketball rather than receiving compensation. This is the result of the face of your league is absent, but you won't admit it. The numbers on the field, in the bleachers, and at the cash registers contradict the league administrator's insistence that no league is about a single player. Right now, the cheapest ticket is $72. Therefore, even before all the fees and other expenses, isn't nearly $64. However, generally speaking, it's not inexpensive. It's not as though playing this game will be inexpensive. There are really around 10 or 12 seats that are not sold, for example. The presence of Caitlin Clark does more than merely sell seats. Local economies are fueled by it, and everyone suffers without her. This is the manifestation of true star power. Real money flowing through towns, vendors, and small businesses, not just buzz or headlines. Compelled the networks would not be receiving the NBA if they did not accept the WNBA. The WNBA brought in more than $700 million last year. Nevertheless, they lost $50 million in some way. And what happens when that authority is removed was shown. This past weekend, the system stalls. All the phrases may be promoted simultaneously. By the WNBA, the league is expanding. There is more to the game than just one participant. Every one of our stars counts. However, everybody paying attention was cruelly reminded of something this past weekend. The WNBA players want wages in the millions. Caitlin Clark would be grossly underpaid at $1 million annually. Caitlin Clark is the company, not simply a member of the league. Nevertheless, the league continues to avoid that reality rather than accept it. Let's discuss the facts. One player's absence from the All-Star lineup caused ticket prices to plummet, merchandise sales to stagnate, local businesses to suffer, and media attention to decline. However, all of the other players in this dump would get far higher salaries. And that's where the issue is, and it's no accident. It's a message from the market itself, as well as from spectators and admirers. Caitlin Clark is the lifeblood of this league. The WNBA, however, has responded by downplaying her rather than accepting that reality. In front of cameras, the commissioner said that passengers just wanted to get off on them because they were selling so many tickets. 120. You want it for 100 then? Oh no. All right, I suppose I must reduce it to 80. You don't want to spend $80 on it? All right, I suppose I'll reduce it to 70. Would you rather not purchase it to $70? I suppose I will reduce it to $64. One player is not the focus of any league. She attempted to group Clark with other inexperienced players as let's not pretend that they were all producing the same amount of excitement, the same increase in ratings, or the same economic boom. The Angel Rhea effect does not exist. The A. Wilson effect does not exist. The only reason the WNBA has been successful is because they are trying to negotiate a new CBA. But no one has told their players, hey, why don't you quit attacking the fans? Caitlin Clark is the only reason these games have been trending, sold out, and televised in the national spotlight this season. Additionally, some players are disparaging her, labeling her supporters nasty, and downplaying her influence rather than expressing gratitude. Pretend basketball was slated to have a huge weekend. In addition to being in the middle of the yearly All-Star celebrations, which are the only occasion of the year where the WNBA collaborates with in order to connect their unidentified gamers with their long-lost family, police agencies throughout are attacking the missing persons report, pretending that the league's expansion has happened naturally when, in reality, Clark has been instrumental in its development. In a few months, a rookie increased league viewing by more than 300%. We cannot continue to approach the league as if it were a charity case and then get irritated when others are unresponsive. When the league is beneficial, you can expect it to be treated like a charity case. However, when it isn't, you can't just leave and say, oh, this is a serious sports league. Where does it draw the line between being a charity case and a sports league? I, for one, will continue to treat it like a sports league with a player whose jersey sales surpass the total sales of the league and a star who wins every game she plays. Into a national dialogue. It's not hype. Market power is that. Leverage. Is that? Here's the irony, however. According to Kat Engelbert, WNBA players are making irrational demands by using Caitlin Clark as leverage in discussions for more pay, or as the diva of the divas. As players are also attempting to appear as if Caitlin isn't the reason any of this is happening by exploiting her name to push for larger contracts, more revenue shares, and more TV partnerships. It's like dragging someone through the dirt while attempting to profit from their achievement. Unrivaled is on the verge of going bankrupt. However, WNBA players aren't giving up just yet, since they have another source of revenue. And for that reason, the 2026 WNBA season is probably going to be canceled. Caitlin is the one enhancing the system as a whole in the meanwhile. It's she who is attracting new admirers. The unexpected interest from corporate sponsors is due to her. Both monetarily and practically, she is the one who keeps the lights on. Over $700 million was made by the WNBA. They still lost $50 million. However, for some reason, the fact is, none of this momentum would exist without her. The league doesn't want to acknowledge this section. Even rudeness is no longer an issue. It has to do with illusion. Your greatest asset should never be neglected if you want to develop a successful brand. Here we have the right to call a spade a spade. Sabrina Ionescu was impressive, particularly from the top rack in that last round. One splash, one splash, one splash. She reaches the last rack. One splash, one splash, one splash. It's a shame Caitlin Clark didn't attend. There would have been an explosion in the audience. You don't act as though your win supporters expressly state that she is the only reason they are paying attention. The celebrity may be replaced. The WNBA is at a turning point in its history. Every time Caitlin sits, it might reinforce the notion that there are several players and continue to see interest ebb and go. These figures are supported by a July 16th story from Front Office Sports and the TickPicks website, which now has the All-Star games for $64 in pricing. This cost $121 and was uploaded prior to Clark announcing she would be sitting out. Alternatively, it can do what all successful companies do: embrace what is effective. Caitlin Clark is more than simply a sports person. She's no ordinary rookie. She is the most significant development in the WNBA's history. The old fans doesn't even want them, really? Someone was in there discussing how they would like not to hear opponents jeering at them when they are at the free throw line. Are you kidding me, I ask? You must be joking. You're participating in a basketball game. For heaven's sake, we humiliate high school students at the foul line, much alone those who are employed. Additionally, if the league maintains ignoring this, will not only harm Caitlin, but also ruin the future they say they are creating if they continue to ignore her, silence her supporters, and treat her like a danger rather than a gift. Become used to coaching. How would you characterize Caitlin's physical struggles? Either during tonight's game or generally, or just based on what you saw her going through. Are you attempting to find me once more? I am not. Well, yes. They are able to play with a certain amount of roughness against her. Really. As an opponent, I was aware of that, you know? Both the fans and the figures are honest. The league as a whole stalls, enthusiasm wanes, and ticket costs plummet without Caitlin Clark. She is not limited to the WNBA. It's still standing because of her. Disregard it and fell risk of losing.